Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of Bloop and a Blast podcast. My name's Big Sexy. I'm the Bloop. Hughesy, he is the Blast. How are you, mate?
Good, Big Sexy. Good, mate. Just finished a game of baseball tonight. Big win for
Oh,
Essendon. Big win for Essendon Bombers,
boys got
mate.
up
Boys,
midweek.
boys got up against Brad Harmon's team. Very close game, 4-3 victory. So pretty happy with that one.
There you go. There you go. Look, we've given a bit away already. We did actually have an awesome guest lined up. We'll tell the people. We'll give them a peek behind the curtain. We actually did have a bit of a chat to Brooke Knight, the Blue Sox manager this season, and of course, former Heat manager and just absolute good dude around the league. But we had some technical issues, so which is why we've had to pivot. Brooke wasn't available tonight, so we just wanted to make sure we hit that Thursday deadline for everyone. So we're going to pivot a little bit, and we're going to talk about some a big weekend of baseball and just sports in general, mate. Like I was spewing Hughesy this weekend because I had the Perth Heat playing the Bandits here in Perth. Of course, there was the Mike Tyson Jake Paul fight on, right?
Yeah.
Trying to just catch a little bit of that. You had Australia playing all weekend, mate. I didn't get to see any of it. I was watching it all on replay. It was absolutely dreadful. I caught a bit of the Heat game, of course, which we'll get into a little bit later, but definitely didn't get there in person like I thought I would. So I was pretty bummed, but hey, sometimes you gotta take that when when the
Mate,
duty calls.
we had don't forget John Jones. He had a big fight in the weekend, which he got up and
Oh,
won.
there you go.
It was down on baseball on Saturday, and we had. I've gone inside to the clubhouse to grab something out of the clubhouse. Come back in. We've got a nice TV in the clubhouse, and here's jumping in. A few people, a few of the dads watching it, and Jake Paul's just rolling out in his car, and I'm sitting there going, "Oh God!" So I'm sitting in there quickly having a quick geeze, having a laugh, and a bit of banter with the old dads in there watching that, it was a very much an action packed weekend of sport. But the big thing obviously over the weekend was baseball kicking off. We had
Yeah, man.
national team duties with the Aussie boys away, and then first round of the ABL. So yeah, it was
It was exciting.
it was a full weekend of watching baseball for me personally.
Yeah.
I watched a lot, and it was good to see some good things and obviously some bad things along the way.
Well, let's go back into it. So the last time we'll talk about Team Australia first. I think that they deserve it, and it's where we'll start this episode. I think obviously last time we chatted to everyone, we were talking with our dear mate Glenn Williams, who that was pre the Japan game. We can go back over that game one. I mean, man, it was exciting. Okay, like I was jacked. I mean, everyone's spoken about it, the media team, the BA media team, those guys, they've absolutely nailed it. As far as the lead up to this, I think I don't know if it was anyone outside of me. Maybe I was the only guy watching it, but I tell you what, man, I was just jacked, so pumped for this. It was grandstand viewing. Everyone was kicked out of the lounge room. It was like, let's go. So,
I had like 5, 6, 7, 8 group chats, just messages pinging left, right, and centre during it. And I think everybody that I know that's involved with baseball was looking forward to facing Samurai Japan and that game, and it was huge. To be honest with you, I was a bit surprised that the stadium wasn't at capacity. I
thought that too.
I noticed that a few seats up in the cheap seats up there were empty, and which is whatever, it was a midweek game in Japan, but Team Japan came ready to play, and the Aussie boys, I think, battled well against, the world's best. That is Team Japan, number one in the world. They play great tournament-style baseball. You're up against it, but what an opportunity to, kick off the Premier 12, against Team Japan. And, the boys battled. They were down 5-0, and, a couple of big home runs. Bajowski hit one into the stratosphere.
Oh, my God.
Crushed it. I had a joke with a few of the boys when he hit it. I said that ball would have landed on a house at the old local dome at Wall Eagles, Sims Field. And then Big Ricks and Wingrove came up, and he always finds a way in national team colours to hit a home run and got the boys back, to 5-3 in the middle part of that game. And, unfortunately for the Aussie team, and they lost that 9-3. And, but look, to be honest with you, I think you go into that game, you want to beat Team Japan, but it's a big ask to go up there in Japan, 30, 35,000 people, trumpets, drums, flags,
Well,
everything.
that's the interesting part, right? We say it wasn't a sellout, 35,000 people. I was explaining to my missus. She goes, "Oh, so when do the Aussie guys play here?" And I said, "Babe, I said there's no chance we're going to get this amount of
Yeah.
people to a game. Unfortunately, it is the case. Maybe, but
I, I
man,
think
it
I
was
think Willow,
unreal.
mate, Willow would love to get some teams down here to Australia. It just cost so much
Yeah,
money to get them down here. Host them, put them up. All the the prize money or whatever. What are you going to pay them? It's so expensive to do it, and hence why Taiwan hosts so many tournaments because they front the bill for a lot of it. Maybe not the Premier 12 or the WBC, but the old World Cups and Continental Cups and all that stuff like that. They're the ones to host it.
yeah, right. I mean, look, coming back to the game though, I mean, it was awesome. Like, I'm not going to lie, I loved it. You did get senses as to why Japan is the world number one, right? I
Mm.
mean, they didn't do anything too flashy for the majority of that game. It was very stock. I don't want to say stock standard, but and discredit what they did, but it was just really good fundamental baseball, wasn't it? They just hit the ball the other way. They hit pitches that were there. They didn't seem to make any or really any mistakes or mishaps, and they just chipped away on the Aussies. They
But
scored.
but that's how they play. That's how they drill. That's how they train. That's if you ever get the chance to watch a Japanese team, not necessarily the national team, but all across the board
Yeah,
into their high school, they're so well drilled. They do it at a level of intensity that is so different to the way we train and the way we go about playing the game. So they don't make errors. They make all the routine plays. They don't make any mistakes from the base pass. They're very well structured with what they do. The pitching is always really good. And the one thing is we do struggle with the split. And that's something that gets exploited against the Asian teams. I think they know that. I think they know that we struggle with that pitch, and we just don't get to see many guys in our country, let alone most of our players play in the US. There's not a lot of guys over there throwing that pitch, and I think when we come up against teams like that, they know it and they exploit it, and essentially get behind the count. You're going to face some nasty split in the dirt. So the boys battled and got through that game, and move on, right?
look, I do, and we do have to move on. I get that, but also like I just have to give him the flowers, right? That Ulrich Bojarski home run was just amazing. I did say off the bat, watching it here at home, I was just like, "Oh, that's a pop up," and it just kept going. And then Ricks and Wingrove just coming out and absolutely murdering a baseball.
Mm.
That was unreal. Another big highlight for me as a fan was just sick to see Travis Pisana just come straight out of the gate and just go for it. I mean, there was some fist pumps going on in this apartment. I promise you that
Yeah.
much. It was sick. So there was some highlights there, and look, obviously late in the game, things sort of got away from us. Yeah, of course the score 9-3 doesn't really reflect, I think, a lot of the game. I think there's a few innings there that sort of they just put the foot down and they just said, "Hey, see you later."
Mm.
But that's a shame. But that was obviously game one, and look, some huge highlights there for those guys. Another interesting thing that I wanted to pick your brain about, Hughesy, was the amount of pitching changes there. Now, I don't expect you to speak for Dingo, but just if understanding that higher level, is it purely just a pitch count thing? Is he just trying to limit the amount of looks guys get? I mean, reality probably doesn't come into play, does it? Like the amount of looks, but is it just purely pitch count to keep these guys active for later on in the tournament?
A bit of everything, really. Dingo has his style of coaching and managing, and from what I understand is, he doesn't like the other team to get too many looks at the same guy.
Yeah,
They have the next man up mentality.
yeah,
It's well documented. They talk about it, and I think game one coming against Samurai Japan, that they're not going to necessarily go after that game and as much as they expect to win, I do think it was like, all right, we'll get everyone in there. They had the day off the next day to reset and have everyone fresh for game two. So, it's the way he manages. It did, it's interesting. It's very interesting, and I'm not sure if I'm a massive fan of it. To be completely honest with you, I think some guys, threw the ball pretty well, but with a lineup like these guys have constructed, there was quite a few left-handed players within that. So, I think Team Australia had 6 left-handed pitchers. So You always like your matchups going lefty lefty as well. But I'm not talking for Dingo in any way, but that's just the way I read it was, next man up, get 3 outs,
Yeah.
move on to the next guy. Get them to get 3 outs and stuff like that too. So that's the mentality, and that's what Dave showed throughout, I guess, the whole tournament.
Yeah, of course. I mean, look, it is what it is, and that's his thing. And hey, he's got the big job, so he can kind of do what he wants. You know what I mean? Moving on to game number two. Obviously, the Aussies one hit the Dominican Republic team. Pretty awesome start there from our mate. Big time was a Sorps, hey?
Yeah, mate, he dominated. He threw a lot of strikes, was ahead in the count, got early contact, soft contact. I think he threw 3 innings and maybe 27, 28 pitches or something
So
like
little
that.
pitches, yeah,
And it's probably the disappointing thing for me was not to see him get stretched out in a game that clearly had good stuff. And I think sometimes pitchers go out to the mound and at times don't have their best stuff. And you could clearly see was the veteran that he is. He's been around for a long time now, and has pitched in some huge games for Team Australia over the years, and he did take himself to another level, and it was really great to see him back to the pitcher that we've seen for many years. So I guess my disappointment as a fan and a big friend of Wazza was not to see him get stretched out in a game that he was pitching really well in, knowing the fact that he had done the work and was ready to pitch deep in games. He's been starting for Morley back in Perth, and yeah, so that was probably a little bit of a disappointment not to see him get stretched out as he was doing really well. But to one hit, a Dominican Republic team full of prospects,
yeah,
MLB prospects, was huge. They had, I think, a really good approach to a starter for the Dominican Republic that was struggling to find the zone there for a while. He was 95, 96, 97.
yeah.
Boys swung the bats really well and, put some runs on the board early to be able to, really lead the way in that game. And that, I thought was a great game played by Team Australia.
Yeah, and also look, yeah, one hit, but they took a no hitter deep into the eighth inning, as per baseball.com.au. So
Mm,
like,
mm,
nothing wrong with that.
no,
Pretty good outing there
great
from the
game.
boys.
Yeah.
And of course, big hero of that game, Robbie Perkins, drove in four for the win. So I mean, huge performance there. And I mean, at that time, it's thinking, okay, that's cool. Like, as an Aussie baseball fan, you kind of expected the Japan loss. They're good. They're really, really good. As you said, to all the reasons that you said. But then to come back against the DR, it was like, okay, here we go, here we go.
Mm,
The boys are gonna have a bit of a run here, which leads us into again the next game, which is versus Cuba, and we lost 4-3 in a bit of a funky one. I didn't get to see all of it as far as that. I caught it. I didn't catch it live, is what I meant. But far out, man. It was a bit of a heartbreaker to catch the score on that.
mm.
Did you see much of that, mate?
That was probably the one game through the tournament I didn't watch. So I went back and checked out the stats and, listened to Ryan Rowan Smith talk about, that game and extent, in following days' coverages. I think he said there was 11 left on base, which obviously hurts you, in a tournament style, needing to take opportunities and stuff like that. So credit to Cuba being able to limit the damage, especially when they had, base runners on and stuff like that too.
12
Cuba,
runners left on base, two
like,
two times bases loaded. Yeah,
mate, like Cuba is one of those teams, for Team Australia that over the years we've just had a tough time, and to
mm,
be honest with you, they've never blown us out. They've never gone out and mercy rid us. Maybe 15 years ago, I think we played a game against Cuba and they did, but ever since then, that game it's always been close games, 4-3, 5-4, whatever it is. They find a way to win a game against us, which is a little bit disappointing, I guess you can say, and that I think was the game that really hurt Team Australia. That was probably the game to have the opportunity to go up 2-1, knowing that you probably needed to win 3 or 4 like games to sneak through into that next round. I think the Aussie boys knew their back was up against the wall after that game, and they had to go out and beat Chinese Taipei's, arguably one of the best teams in the world now at tournament baseball, and then essentially Korea in their last game. So, yeah, that was a tough game for the boys to drop.
Yeah, and look here, just looking back here on the stats, Glendenning 2 for 2, home run, RBI and 2 runs. Bazana 2 for 4, Whitefield 2 from 5. So
Mm,
there's some stuff there. Of course, Rickson Wingrove got a hit as well in there. So it is a shame to drop that game. But then, of course, as you said, we move forward to the Chinese Taipei team, and wow, that was just something else. I mean,
mm,
just the absolute atmosphere. I mean, I turned the telly right up, mate. I was
mm,
I was here for it. It was crazy,
yeah.
but yeah, it was, and it was. I couldn't believe it, man. I was like, "What the heck is going on here?"
Mm.
That game took forever.
Forever.
Oh,
Mate, it was interesting. I reckon earlier in the tournament, I really noticed the pitch clock at one of the games directly behind home plate,
yep,
and there was like a noise, and then it started counting down, right?
yeah.
And so from there, and I went to watch the Chinese Taipei game, and I noticed there was no pitch clock and there was nothing there. So I'm not sure within that tournament whether or not there is a pitch clock or if there isn't, or for
I
some
think
reason.
there's no pitch clock with runners on. That's what I'd overheard the commentator saying. It was
Nah,
something like that.
mate, no
But dude,
chance. It was through the whole game.
halfway through the Cuba game, the pitch clock, I think it was a Cuba or Dominican Republic game, that pitch clock stopped working. So I
Yeah,
was like, well, what's going on? Like,
mate,
it's
that was
call it a
ridiculous.
protest.
Lockie Dale messaged me, and I think it was like the fifth inning. It was like 2 hours and 20 minutes or something like that, and he was like, "Holy shit, this game is going forever." And I was like, "Yeah," because every time the pitcher threw a pitch, not our guys get up and I know Dave and Benny talk about tempo and stuff like that, and we preach it here in Australia, and a little bit different over there in Taiwan. The starter was very slow throughout his start, and he was able to pitch out of, I think, some jams early in that game, and a couple of big punch outs at timely fashion for him. So, that was it's tough against these guys. Another guy that the starter from Team Japan, he did go to his split, call it change up, whatever you want to call it, quite a bit. Throughout that game, pitching behind in counts and being able to locate that pitch and get some swings and misses at crucial times in that game. So, once they got a little bit deeper into the game, their bullpen really came out show. And one of the guys that came out for Chinese Taipei, ex big NPB big league guy, who was an outfielder, and then transitioned into pitching, and he was like 94, 95, 96, and had some really nasty stuff too. So it was, I think, once they got the game deeper, their bullpen took over and threw the ball really well.
Look, it was, and look, one of the really cool stories, and I'm going to reuse some of my material from our forgotten episode with Brooke Knight. But one of the bright spots of that was, of course, Solomon Maguire
Yep.
comes out of nowhere. Well, not out of nowhere. I shouldn't say that, but
Mm.
absolutely out of nowhere in his first at bat. And I'm calling it, mate. That is the first at bat of an Aussie in the national men's team in the Premier 12 to go yard. So there you go. It's a little long of a title, but
I
I think it's
guarantee
fair.
I'm 100% reaching out to Eric Bellner and going, mate, is this true or not? It probably
Well,
is, to be honest. I don't know. You put a lot of parameters, and I like how you throw in the Premier 12.
in the Premier 12, yeah.
I'm sure someone's done it for Team Australia somewhere along the lines.
What
And
you? What were you? You were the first Aussie on the first pitch in the big leagues, or your first at bat?
oh, come on, mate. No, it's first at bat.
First at bat. Okay, so
Nah, mate.
first at bat in the big leagues hits a home run. So Solomon Maguire, something similar, first at bat in the Prem 12 hits a dinger. I'm
Well,
calling it, mate. It's unofficial. No one check it. It's fine.
well, the funny thing is, no one knows that Trent Ultron's first hit in the major league was a home run.
That's correct. His first hit was a home run.
First
I
hit
remember
was a
that.
home run. Not first at bat though, mate. Wasn't good enough to do that. But he, it's really like cool to see, and I use the word fan, and we are fans of the game now. To see a guy like Solo go out there, get an opportunity to play, and hit a home run, and you could see he was pretty excited and happy with himself, and the
Yeah,
team
man.
was fired up. He's looking in the dugout when the camera pans in the dugout, all the boys up and about. Wazza was, probably the most excited out of everyone in there as well. So that was a cool moment for him, and a cool moment that he would remember until he finished playing the game. And yeah, it's cool to see, and the one guy in that game that I really did see, that TK came out, got a couple of knocks,
Yeah.
and he hit the ball really well a couple of times. There's some really good at bats, which for me I expect from him. Doesn't matter how old he is or where he's playing, or whatever like that. He gets in there and competes, and plays the game hard, plays the game the right way too. So I think Rickson had some really good at bats as well in that game. hit a couple of really tough pitches. Had a really good at bat. His first at bat, got a base at the right field, and I think he hit a split that was about 4 inches off the plate, and roped it into left field. So I think, looking back at it, there's some boys that played some good baseball there, but unfortunately, that was a tough game for the boys, and knowing that they had to win that for an opportunity to go through to the next round, unfortunately, it was a tough loss.
I wanna just go back to the game one too. I just remembered this. Sorry, but that pick play Rickson Wingrove made behind the runner. That was, I mean, I know you're an infielder, yeah, whatever, mate. Nah, man, that was hard. That was sick. That ball was laced, and he's just picked it through the runner's legs, basically. I'm giving him his flowers on that. He
Yeah.
deserves it. That was awesome.
Well,
I think he plays a tremendous defense, like
yeah.
at first base. Like you just don't expect it.
You brought up a good point, and just jogged my memory about Georgie making a great play through
Oh,
that Taiwanese game. And he was about 3 feet from the batter over there at third base, expecting a bunt, and the guy laced one. And Georgie jumped out, caught it, spun around, and threw doubled off the guy at first base too. So he finds a way at a national level and to I guess make some unbelievable plays and
yeah.
highlight reels that get played throughout the year through the WBSC and all their social channels. So I'm sure we'll see this one, that highlight played a lot throughout the next year.
Yeah, that was unreal. I actually watched that highlight today. Again, popped up my feed, and I was
Yeah,
like, how
yeah,
did he make that play? An
yeah.
absolute weapon, DG, my man. So, I mean, there, and then look, moving on from there, uh, of course, unfortunately, another loss to Korea, 5-2 in the Korean game. Uh, Man, it was look. It was good to see some of those other guys that didn't quite get as much game time previously get an opportunity here.
Mm,
But yeah, another disappointing loss. For us Aussies, I think. Yeah, bit of a shame to finish it
mm.
that way. But
Yeah, it was, mate. Spencer came out and got a couple of hits in that game. It's good to see him, get an opportunity and play and get some knocks and stuff like that too. I think at that stage of the tournament, it's really difficult as a player, knowing the fact that you're not going to go through, but you have the pride of wearing the national team, colours and uniform in the back of your mind, and you want to make sure you go out there and play well. And it was good to see these guys get an opportunity to play, get some experience playing at a national team level, and to kind of see what the future holds. We do know there's a lot of baseball to be played. WBC coming up, obviously Olympics are back in 2028, Brisbane
yeah,
2032. We really hope the sport and Team Australia will be there. I think it's going to be really tough for Team Australia with the funding component of it to be able to put together different programs to help continue to grow the sport. One, continue to support the ABL two, but obviously get the boys ready to potentially play in Olympic Games in 4 years. So yeah, it's a big
interesting point though that Gonzo makes about that is that like the league gets better. It's the high performance vehicle as well as it is the promo arm of it. Like, I mean that to me. I mean, and we've already seen it. I mean, as we sort of digress into the ABL, but like you've seen it this weekend. Obviously, it was almost should have called it import round because it was everyone's imports were out because
yeah.
a lot of the Aussie stars, Aussie team stars weren't here. But yeah, and look, hey, like if the stronger this league gets, the better these guys are going to face for the next 4 years leading into all these big tournaments. So yeah.
Mm,
Look, did we get the result that we all wanted? No. Was it sick from as a fan's perspective? I know you've got a deeper emotional attachment to the Aussie team, and I totally respect that, and so you should. But as a fan's perspective, man, it was sick. Like the
mm,
build up to it was perfect. It was amazing. Did the boys go out and absolutely dominate? No, no, they didn't. Right? And yeah, it sucks. But at the end of the day, like I still think, like, man, that was sick. It was
mm.
still a fun weekend of baseball. Get to watch the Aussie guys, and hey, next time we'll go for a bit better.
I I know the boys will probably walk away pretty disappointed with, I guess, the results in what kind of transpired over the last week. I do always say it is, and they don't use excuses, but it is bloody hard for an Australian player in November to
Yeah.
go out on the world stage to face that quality of pitching, that quality of hitters when most of this team is coming off a break. That yes, okay, we do have some pro guys that have played and been away this year and all that, but still, it's November. They haven't played since September. Playing some club ball games and stuff before, a few games in Fuchu before. Like, it is extremely difficult to be able to strap it on against the world's best. And I'm not making excuses or anything like that, but it is difficult. I always found it really, really difficult to turn it up that notch, or 3 notch, 4 notch, 5 notches, to face that quality of pitching. But the boys would be disappointed. The results are disappointing. It's not where they wanted to be, clearly. And there's a few things there that I'm sure we get addressed and discussed. What to do, what they can change moving forward. Preparation. Player availability. That's probably a disappointment as well, with a few guys, choosing not to be there as well. So I think, it's tough, right? And I think we're 15th or something in the world now, which isn't good. That's not good at all.
So
That's a huge drop off. It's not.
you mentioned that the other night. So what's now, because obviously Prem 12s is top 12 teams. So we have to basically win qualifiers. Can you explain that process now for those of us that aren't really familiar with it?
So the world ranking points takes in consideration all the national teams across the board, right? So junior national teams, they go away to tournaments. Point system is involved, where they finish equivalates to, how many points you accrued to, right? So if we have some junior teams that go away and don't play very well, or we don't send a team away, which has happened in the past due to different reasons, we lose that world ranking status. And that's where I think you find us now. I don't think we've had that much success over the last 12 months, 2 years, to be honest with you. So therefore, that's where we find, Australia sitting in 15th. So it's not where the boys want to be. It's not where I guarantee Baseball Australia as a organisation and a governing body want to be, because when you go to try to get some funding and, talk to the government, and all of a sudden you're 15th in the world, doesn't come across that well, right? It doesn't come across that good. So, with the success of those teams, and essentially try to get back on track, to get back into that, top 12 is key to be a part of that Premier 12 tournament. And a good showing at the WBC is going to go a long way in that space. So, big tournament next year in the WBC. It's huge for the boys, and huge for, Team Australia and where they sit in the world rankings.
Yeah, there you go. That's I've never actually thought about it. So that's really interesting. So there you go. Look, moving into obviously round 1 of the ABL, pretty exciting. Again, so much baseball, double headers here, there, and everywhere. Where do we even want to start? Hughesy's predictions kind of held up.
They were this close. It was this close to pulling off a sweep across the board. Adelaide were up against Sydney, and I was like, I'm going to pull this off. And then Sydney, had a big, I think, 8th inning, I think it was, in that game, and won, and essentially got the series win. So we'll start with Adelaide and Sydney. I think there were some really good pitching performances from both teams throughout that. Those games, I think, for Sydney, they had 3 starters that pitched really well. And I'm not great at pronouncing names.
No, you're great. Before you actually made up a great word, you said equivalates.
Yeah,
which I think is the equivalent and equates together.
Do you know when you say a word and you're like, I can't even go back and even say this, because I know the boys are going to just destroy me anyway. So I just ran with it. I was like,
that's why I was laughing. I was laughing while you were trying to talk about how the ranking system is.
I'm sitting here at 11:18 on Tuesday night.
It's late.
It's like, cut me some slack.
No, it's fair. It's fair. Everyone lay off Hughesy.
We're bringing this to the public. We're bringing this podcast. We've got to make sure we do it. You text me after last night's pod and said, I don't know if that went down too good. I don't even know if I called and said, all right, let's just load it up and go again.
Let's do it again.
Mate.
If you have any other words, if you have any correct pronunciations for Hughesy, make sure you hit us up on the socials at Bloop Blast Podcast. Let us know about it. We'll love to answer your messages.
There's probably one guy, and I'll get it straight away.
We'll get it.
Jason Miller, spelled with a Y. Okay. who names the name Jason with a Y, but I guarantee
He's
he's
gonna
going to be
love that.
all over me and crush me for it, which is okay. I
So,
enjoy some banter.
come on, mate. Let's butcher some names. Talk to
All
me
right,
about these pitches.
all right. So game one, Borassa. Let's go with that one.
I don't think you've done too bad there. Barasa, yeah.
Barassa, really good outing, set the tone for that series. Pitched really, really well through that. Ferreira pitched really well as well. You know, these guys pitched 5 6 innings, didn't give up many hits, punched out a few too. So definitely got two really quality outings from them. And then the big matchup, and we talked about it last night.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, you know, the Wells brothers, and you know, we talked about a little bit of collusion and a little bit of like, hey, like, you know, when are the boys going to start? And you know, to be honest with you, I'm really happy that you know both teams had a chat and probably matched them up together. It was great to see the two
just
Wells brothers.
just that could be taken out of context. There was no. I suggested, hey, someone's going to
Collusion.
be. I suggested someone's got to be saying something to get these two guys lined up because to me that's a great story. It's a media story. I mean that's why we love the game so much. Of
Mm,
course, two brothers playing against each other in the pro leagues,
yeah.
and Nighty said, "Look, no. There was nothing dodgy. If it makes sense, we'll get it done. Right? You know, let's not throw the game into disrepute on our little podcast here. Let's not do that. But no, it was sick. It was awesome to see the
Mm,
Wells brothers go head to head. You know, and I made sure went back and watched that.
mm,
I tell you, man, it was sick. And another thing that didn't get you won't get found out until we talk to Brooke Knight again. But I've actually applied to be the third, or you know, however many Wells brothers are there. How
mm.
many of these guys are there? Are they all left-handed studs? I mean, what's the criteria? Be left-handed and be a stud. I'm left-handed. I'm halfway there. So, boys, if you're watching this, Big Sexy wants in. I can be the third Wells brother. Let me in. Let me go. Let's go. I'll
So,
get some. I'll get some sunnies, some goggles. What have I ever got to do? Let me in there. Let's
so
go.
there's another story to this, and I'm just using content from last night, so I don't really care. I'm just going to run with it. There's two Wells brothers. We know this. One, Lachlan Wells reached out to I think you and said, "Hey, anytime you're free, I'm more
No,
than
I was talking to him. No, man, I was messaging him. He wasn't like
okay,
chasing me down.
okay,
I was like, hey, bro, like, yeah, cool. Like, hey, you know, I don't know what I was saying. I was just having a chat with the dude. He's a stud, man.
yeah,
He's a stud. And then and then his brother put something up on his story, and I just said like, hey, what's the criteria to be a Wells brother? Do you have to be left-handed and be a stud? And he left me on red. So it's all good. It's all good. I
one
should have picked
hundred
the right
percent.
Wells brother to talk to. That's okay. That's
Hey,
on me,
look,
man.
look, one hundred
So
percent. We're gonna do the twins, and we're gonna have to pull
yeah,
this off. I don't know if the boys want to do it together, and we'll throw it out there to them and say, "Hey, boys, got to come on for a pod together. We can have some banter. We can have some fun. We can talk about I don't know whatever you want to talk about. What it was like to grow up together, and
I'm here for it. They're
yeah,
going to be awesome.
let's put that one to work. Leave that one with me. I'll see what I can pull off.
Put it out there now. If the boys
Oh,
they see our content, they
yeah.
see it. Hey, come on, boys, let's go. Let's
Let,
get them in here. This would be sick.
let's go. All right. So, you know, that was obviously for me, great matchup. Both boys pitched really well. And obviously Lachlan got the win for Adelaide, which was their first win of the year. And rolling into Sunday, there was a tight game again. You know, it's tough when you play Friday, doubleheader, Saturday, Sunday, pitching gets stretched. I think Kai Hampton was able to, I think, 3, 4 and 2/3 in that game. He gave up a few runs, but he was able to stretch it out and give them a chance to win a ball game. Essentially, Sydney came back in that one and essentially got the 3-1 victory of the weekend, which is a great way to set up. You know, Brooke was very open with us through our conversation last night around the fact that, yeah, we do understand Adelaide are missing their horses and we understand Sydney, you know. So if you look at it, you know, you got Atho, Gaia, who else they got? Solo
Solo,
and Cohen Win, right? So
yeah.
you're missing some really good arms there, and Solo, you know, one of your stars in the outfield. Adelaide, on the other hand, Rickson Wingrove, obviously missing him, which I think, you know, a huge out. A lot of, I guess, when you sit back looking at it, like starters that will just slot straight in. Todd Van Stansel, you
Mm.
know, I can see I'll probably forget all the names and stuff like that. So I think Adelaide, Perth are probably the two teams that are missing the most part of their heart of their team.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it was Well, that was awesome to see the Blue Sox come 3-1, and yeah, of course, whatever. But hey, as it stands right now, 3-1. So that's it. I mean, where do you want to go to next, man? I mean, do you want to talk about your new favorite team, the Melbourne Aces, or what,
Well,
what are you thinking?
we can go. I've got notes. I've got a second laptop up here. I've got stuff
Look at
flying
you
all over the
go.
places.
Tech issues into too much tech. I love it.
Can't say
I love it.
the tech issue was my fault, and then it took me 3 seconds to work out tonight what I was actually doing wrong. So I will apologise to Brooke. I think that Canberra Melbourne series will go there.
Yeah.
Um, pitching duel, you know, pitching duel, huge pitching duel Friday night.
Mm.
Mahoney and
Moramondo.
Maramundo.
There it is.
Great pitching game. And like going out to the ballpark out there, it's generally a pitching duel. Like doesn't blow out very often there, but to be honest with you, it seemed like a few games that the win was quite favourable to the hitters. Good game of baseball, huge crowd that night. I think it was like 2,200, 2,300. It might have been
Wow.
the top. It was in the top five for attended games for them, and so that was a huge way to kick off this season. I do say the media team there, and they do a really good job. And Ralphie Huber and the crew have been able to really make that stadium a good place to go watch baseball. Both first and third base been renovated. Party deck's been renovated. I say it all the time. They got the best corporate hospitality and facilities in the country by far. Directly behind a home plate, it's amazing. You get so close to the action. You know, the food, drinks, all that stuff like that. It's a great place there to watch. It gets a bit chilly throughout the night, and a bit windy. But apart from that, great crowd, great game, good way to kick it off for both teams. And Canberra were able to come out victorious in that game one. We move into game two for me, and it seemed like another kind of pitches duel, which is to be expected. To be honest, throughout that, Melbourne were able to get up 5-1 in that and didn't give up. I think they gave up 3 hits throughout that game, which again, was big. That was kind of like split the series right there, 1-1, and I'm sitting back going, look at this. I reckon I'm pretty close to getting this one right, knowing that how's everything's going. And then, the interesting game, was for me, the next game, and you had, Reece Nitt, Aussie guy, go out there, pitch against, Takashimi, who
Yeah.
nasty, big league pitcher and stuff like that. The Canberra able to hit him pretty well, right? And score
Mm.
some runs, and Reece threw the ball extremely well, and was being able to shut down the offensive team for that game too. So that's huge. The one thing I probably did forget to mention the game before that was the fact that Greg Bird hit 3 home runs in a game.
Yeah.
Sorry, I did forget that. He's a stud. Loves, from all reports, Australian baseball, loves being out here, loves playing for Melbourne, loves the Warriors, loves playing for Deebs. To go out there in the second game of the year, 3 home runs is pretty cool.
Pretty awesome.
Hasn't happened very often in the league too. So that's probably a big one. And then I guess from there turn to for the Aces split the series was probably their mindset too. And they were able to do that. They went out there on Monday in front of a lot of kids at the park and
You
were able to pick up a 6-4 victory.
you talk to a lot of Brisbane guys, mate, and Reece Nitt's nasty.
Mm.
Nasty. Absolute nasty. That's all I'm saying on the matter. But and he's sneaky good, man. He goes out and gets, that little slide piece. It's nasty. So it's
So,
what it is.
so for me, you look at that series, and I know Melbourne. We're missing some guys, right? Like Robert Glendenning, Aaron Whitefield, Darryl George. 3 guys that you're just going to insert directly into that lineup. Daly, he comes back in. He's been away in the national team as well. So you've got 4 position players to come back into that lineup, which is huge. So the depth now is going to be quite extensive within that space too. So look to that lineup really to take off over the coming weeks, and look forward to seeing those guys. And all these guys have an opportunity for me. They're at the top, and I've said it before, of being able to win a Helms Award, but those guys don't care about that. They want to get over the hump and win a championship together.
Yeah, I mean, as you talk about guys that are away, I mean, similarly the Perth Heat, right? I mean, they
Mm,
had four guys that are dead set starters in their lineup away. You've got TK, Alex Hall, Ulrich, and then of course Jake Bowie just in the lineup. Am I missing anyone? I don't think I am in the field. And then you've got obviously, you know, Was and well, is that it?
Sheriff,
Oh, Will Sheriff
Sheriff.
too, of
Yeah.
course, right? Like, so there's six guys that, uh, you know, looking at the Brisbane Perth games. Yeah, I'm a bit surprised that
Mm,
Perth did what they did, but the imports come out and hit some absolute bombs. So too did Brisbane. They absolutely murdered some baseballs.
mm,
But I was talking to Will Riley after the series, and he mentioned it to me. He utility guy. Love to see Will with the first base glove on too. My man, don't think I've
mm,
ever heard of him playing first base. He was out there. He messaged me. He said, "Man, Perth's going to be sneaky good." And
mm,
I don't know if Will wanted me to say that on the podcast, but I did. So it bodes pretty well. I mean, you look at the guys that have got to come back into that lineup, and of course,
mm,
guys that are in the bullpen and on the starting rotation. I mean, far out. Perth is going
mm.
to be pretty stacked.
I,
It'll be
I,
pretty exciting.
I definitely do think that once these players from more so, as you said, Perth, Adelaide, and Melbourne come back into the heart, right? These guys hit in the heart of the order for these clubs, and yeah, I do think those three teams definitely sit at the top of the rankings, and deservedly so, right? So, we return
You
to.
say rankings, but they got to put it all together, don't they? They got to gel. Everyone's got to get it on and turn it on at the right time.
I did speak to a coach the other day. I won't mention his name, but it was kind of the messaging. It was kind of like, yeah, great, we've got these boys going to come back in, but they definitely need to lead the team. They're the guys that need to go out, hit 300, drive the runs in, carry the offense. It is on them whether or not they're going to succeed and go deep into the playoffs and essentially win a championship. So
Yeah.
it's not pressure. It's just understanding that these guys are the guys and the heartbeat of these clubs. So I think for me, being able to watch this week's games, it will be exciting to see the difference in dynamics and what the team looks like and the structure of the rosters. And unfortunately, some players are going to miss out that had an opportunity to play on the weekend. But that's the ABL, that's the professional league that we play in too. So the Heat and Brisbane, end up splitting that series. I think there were some really good pitching performances by both teams. For me, a couple of the Japanese guys that the Heat had with Shin and I think Won, not one,
Okay.
but Won, I think. Both
Nice.
both those
No, that was
guys
good. That checks out. Yeah.
threw really well. Shin, I think, threw 4 innings, no hits, which was great. Who else was it? Power got had a good outing as well. Gunnar Kynes is back out for another year with Brisbane, and he's played a couple of different clubs across the ABL format, and finds himself in Brisbane. He punched out 9 guys in 4 or 5 innings too. So he continues to be able to do it well. Only gave up, I think, a couple of runs, maybe one earned throughout his start too. But the big outing for me when the team needed it was Bollinger. He's back out for another year. He's experienced. He's played in the US for a long time, been in Taiwan for a long time too. He threw 7 innings and was able to hold the Perth Heat lineup. Only gave up, I think, a couple of hits through his start too, and then coming out with McDonald, in the final game, and yeah, so he threw 6 innings too. So I think you walk away from that going, look, the Heat were able to split the series. Brisbane were able to split the series. I think they learn a lot about their clubs. And, the bats are always a little bit cold early in the year. The pitching always, for me, leads the way, especially for the first couple of weeks. And the bats do heat up and get going as the season gets into it. There's a lot of imports in this league that I'm interested to watch and get to understand and know a little bit more. We've got so many different Asian players in this team, in these teams.
Yeah.
So that those types of things, of seeing these guys and what they're about. Yeah, that's the part for me that I'm excited to kind of watch and track.
I'm more excited to watch you nail their names throughout the rest of the year. By the end of the year, man, you're gonna be perfect at this. I want to give a shout out to our mate Kieran Hall, who
Mhm.
look, 5 innings pitched, a few hits, 4 hits, 3 runs, 3 earned runs. It was 1 home run he gave up on
Mm-hmm.
a curveball slider
Mm.
that got absolutely murdered, but went out and shoved
Mm.
to a degree. Like gave up 3 runs, but seven punchies. You know what
Mm.
I mean? In a starting spot for him, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course he's going to be. I think we know Kiz. He's probably going to be a little bit disappointed, but hey, at the end of the day, man, he had his stuff working, and it's pretty exciting to see him sort of maybe
Yeah.
maybe transition into that starting role. But then again, you got guys coming back. It's an
It's
option.
so the big thing with Kizza, last year he was back from college. He was kind of a little bit banged up and was relieving for us at Morley and relieving in for the Heat. And he's been able to have a really good off season. Got
Yeah,
his, a lot of continuity with his arm and lifting
nice.
and doing all that stuff. And talking to the boys down at Morley and Dan and stuff like that. He really wanted to start and was able to go out there and kind of get prepped for the ABL season. And I think the week before he punched out quite a few guys in his last start for Morley before transitioning over into the Heat.
He did. Yeah.
And I think they talked about it as like 94, 95 on the gun, which is great to see. His velocity's up there. I think his breakable is really good. The one pitch he probably needs to work on a little bit is his change up to be able to find that good third pitch. And I'm sure that he's working on that at the moment. He couldn't throw one for a strike last year as much as we tried in the bullpen.
Give him a break.
Mate, you got to crush
Hey,
it.
I got a question to ask you as we sort
Yeah.
of wrap up some of the ABL stuff.
Mm.
I do have a few notes, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you know me, I don't come prepared to these things. That's why you're here. All right? I'm just the bloop, mate. I just come and ask crazy questions and get away with it. Here's some takes that I've got. You ready? Big sexy time. Got some takes. Bandits unis are fire again. They're absolute fire, mate. Like
Fire, amazing, right? And they were talking about
oh,
it on the comms too. They were talking about it. They mentioned. I was like,
mate.
yeah, I agree with
That away strip.
you. Mm.
Oh my
What
god. Get me one of
the
them.
grey, right? I
Yeah.
don't like the yellow. The grey is
Nah,
absolute fire.
I tell you what, it's up there. It's up there with the Giants yellow that they wear, or is it yellow or red? I can't remember. They went to it, or maybe the blue, baby blue or
Mm.
something. I'm going to find a pic of it. But that Giants uni that they would go to on a Sunday sometimes last year,
Mm.
holy Jesus,
Mm.
that's fire as well.
I did notice Sydney had a
All grey
uniform.
at
They're all
home.
grey. I was like, okay, right.
Yeah,
Don't
Hughesy doesn't mind it.
Did not
Okay.
mind it. I don't understand the all grey at home, but traditionalists over here, we're white at home, grey on the road. But I
Yeah,
get this say.
I'm stuck in that too, to be fair. I said the same thing. I was like, wait, they're at home, but they're in the grey. But hey, they're doing their thing. They got
Yeah.
their thing going on. Here's another thing that I'd love to get your take on, right?
Mm.
Here's something I don't know if you picked it up, but did you notice the Giants have a leg sponsor?
100,000,000% I did. And
I figured you'd hate it, but I
no,
love it.
so I'm sitting there watching the game. I'm like, do I like this? I'm like,
Yeah,
I
unpack it.
I've played in Venezuela, right? And every spot on the hat had logos and sponsors. Shirt was like literally all the way down to your legs. We see
Yeah.
Mexican winter baseball as well. They've all got sponsors all over the place. So I'm sitting back going, in Australia, we don't do this. Like, you don't put a sponsor in a leg. And you know what? Yeah,
No,
go
I'm
for it.
for it. I'm for it,
I'm
man.
for
Hey,
it. I'm
hey,
go
let's
for it.
sell some real estate here, boys. Get some
Absolutely.
more money for the team.
Absolutely.
Let's do it. And it made me think to myself, can we get like surely the Bandits or maybe the Giants or someone? These guys seem to be taking a few more risks with the unis.
Mm.
Maybe we can get like the Bauer sort of style. I've been watching a lot of Trevor Bauer over the last
Uh,
few months, but that whole strip, they've got
yeah.
like the red matching pants and the
Yeah.
jersey. I mean, hey, I'm here for it, man. Let's get some sponsors on the leg. Let's get some full Mexican League stuff
Speaking
happening.
about sponsors, I could bang a sponsor right here next to
This
the
would be
Nike logo, right here.
this would be a great spot for someone to
Yeah.
jump on and sponsor the podcast, mate. But
No
hey,
worries.
if you're interested or you know someone, tell them to go and check out our socials at Bloop Blast Podcast. Tell them to go and hit subscribe on YouTube at Bloop Blast Podcast. We're there too. Hey, send us an email. We've got an email address. Message us on the socials, mate. We're
Mm.
keen. Let's go. Let's get it
Okay.
done. One last little take that I've got here, and it sent me down a bit of a rabbit hole, but I have to ask you a question. You ready?
Mm.
This might bring out the old boy in you, and I'm here for it. Okay,
Yeah.
I think I've found my new Sexy's Hot Takes is my new favorite segment. I
Love
think we're
that.
going to do it every week,
Love it.
and I'm just going to rile you up with shit that I
Yeah.
see on the ABL. Ready?
But
Are you allowed to swing a composite bat in the ABL? Okay, so first of all, answer it if you're allowed to, and two, if you like it.
You're allowed to. Do I
And you
like
hate
it?
it. He hates it.
I 100% have taken a composite wood bat up to bat
Oh,
in the ABL in the
oh,
past.
I wasn't expecting this. Hello.
So big. It was more so the reason of like the bat felt so horrible in my hands. Like I've got to hit with something completely different, right? I can't get a hit to
Yeah.
save my life. Let's use this thing, go up there and see how we go. So I do tell a quick story, and this was quite funny. Years ago on the national team, Benny Reisinger was playing. A lot of people, Benny hasn't played a lot or hasn't played for a long time. Anyone that knows Benny knows how much of a ripping dude he is. He's hilarious. So he hadn't played much and didn't even play locally for us. And Deebs picked him on the team and go across. I think it was like a World Cup in Taiwan, and he's hitting right, and he's like, "Oh, I've got to put like a logo on the bat so people don't know." Or don't think it's a
Yeah, it's
composite
a
bat, right?
composite.
So he's got
Yeah.
like a barn bat, and so he goes out, gets a Zinger logo, puts the Zinger logo on the bat, right? So he comes up, hits it, gets a hit, like drops the bat down. I think I was hidden behind him, and as the catcher's picked up the bat and he's gone, he's like looking at the bat, like, "Oh, give me that thing, mate." So
Get back here.
give it back here. Look over there. 100% could not use a composite bat at that tournament. So,
Oh.
so yeah, it was
So
quite
you
fun.
are allowed to swing one in the ABL.
Yeah, but mate, there's a lot of kids that are in the league and at times and get an opportunity to have bats made. And I don't know, parents are fantastic and buy all these, weapons. Spend $350 on a bat, right? Luckily, if some teams have team sponsored bats, and that's great. But mate, like, whatever, who cares, right? Just go out there and use it, whatever you want to
So
use.
what are we just gonna? No, well, I went down a rabbit hole. Obviously, going to be
Mm.
funny there. What just swing tin? Like, why not? No, but I went down a rabbit hole.
Mate, if we
After
swing 10, I'm making a comeback. I'm telling you right now. I'll come
Izzy's
back and
back
play. I
in.
will come back.
Mate,
I'm
I'm a
100%.
chance. I'm a
Mhm.
chance with 10. I'll tell you. Izzy still hates it.
Mm.
No, but I went down a rabbit hole. You can. Okay, so it's got to be an approved bat in. I think it's high A and potentially rookie ball or something, or short ass, or one of those two. There's certain composite bats that are approved in those leagues. So what happened was I went through the ABL rules, and then I started going through the minor league baseball rules, and then basically I was like, what am I doing with my life? I'm just going to go back to watching the Heat game that I was watching.
So
So there
you
you go.
did do some homework
I actually
for.
did, man. I nearly went down a whole rabbit hole on rules
Mm.
just to be like, to find out to come here. And then I gave up because I was like, I'm not that guy. That's not me. Okay. So, anyways, there you go. So it
what
turns
are
out you
we
can swing composites.
what are we calling this segment again? What's this going to be?
I was thinking
Big,
about
big,
big sexy time, or
big,
hot sexy takes.
hot,
I
sexy,
don't know.
hot, sexy takes. I like that. That's pretty
Hot
good.
sexy takes. We'll
Hot,
work. We'll
sexy
work on
takes.
something. We're
All right.
workshopping it right now.
I'm
But
like that.
look, hey, it was exciting. I mean, there's a whole lot of ABL coming up this weekend. Do we want to dive into what's coming up on the schedule, Luke?
Yeah,
Do
go
you have
through
the
this.
schedule in front of it?
No, I do not. I can if you want to put. Do you want to
I'll
pull it
pull it
up?
up. I'll
Pull
pull
it
it
up.
up, mate. I'll give it a crack. It
And
might take a
I'll.
little bit.
And what are you going to call my
I actually had another idea, and now this has descended into madness. But I'll tell you what, it might be the best episode we've ever done.
I don't know.
I actually want to do. I'm also gonna do some homework for next week, Hughesy.
Mhm.
And even if we have a guest, I'm gonna get some Gen Z words, and I'm gonna ask you what they
Mm.
are. I think that's really topical, and it's gonna be really funny.
Great.
Okay,
Can't wait. Can't
you
wait for
can tell we're
that.
two pretty old dudes
Mm.
talking about Gen Z stuff. So look, this coming up round two. It looks like you've got the Bandits at home
Mhm.
against the Aces.
Mhm.
So, do you expect that the majority of those Team Australia guys are just bang straight into the ABL? Do you think any guys are
100%.
going to have some
Yeah.
time off?
No,
Yeah,
no,
no,
no.
just straight
Straight,
back into
straight
it.
in, mate. Straight
Yeah,
in.
okay, yeah, cool, cool.
So you're
So you've
asking
got
my predictions? Is that what you're asking? Is this
well,
going to
yeah,
be
Bandits,
Hughesy's predictions?
Hughesy's crystal balls. Talk to me, Hughesy.
Oh, there we go.
There it is. We go.
Sponsored by.
We're, we're gonna get loopy as hell if this goes on much longer.
Yeah.
Give us your predictions, mate. Bandits at home against the Aces. Who you got? And don't say
Nah,
series
nah,
split again.
100% not. I do think the Aces will win that
Yeah.
series. The one game that I do really think that would be a tough one is when Bollinger is on the bump. I think that's the game that could go either series sweep to 3-1. I just think with the amount of players that are coming back for the Aces and the boys are fired up and ready to go,
Yeah.
short porch to right field, that
Birds
comes
in
into it.
form.
Yeah, that comes into it as well. So I definitely think this week would be an Aces 3-1.
Yeah. Okay. Moving on now, Giants are at home to the Canberra Cavalry. What do you got?
Cavs play great. I think they play some really good
Yeah,
baseball, right?
6 home runs or something stupid
Yeah.
in the Sunday game, I
So,
think.
so that was sneaky, sneaky good weekend for them. Yeah, they get to add their team captain, Robbie, back into the
Yeah,
lineup and stabilise that catching position and just be the leader that he is. Right, he
yeah,
showed it for Team Australia as well. So Canberra, going to be a tough team. I think they've got some good imports, right? Like
yeah.
I think, but who are they playing in? Who did you say? Adelaide.
Adelaide at
Adelaide.
home
Yeah.
against the Cavalry.
But with Adelaide, mate, god damn, they're just
It's
such
hard,
a
eh?
they're just a good team. I think 3-1 Adelaide as well.
3-1 Adelaide. Yeah,
Mm,
okay. Cool. So now this will be fun. Perth Heat at home, Sydney Blue Sox. I'm telling everyone now, I'm going. All right.
mm.
I'm going to be there. I don't care if I have to work or some comes up. I'm going. Hughesy, it's got to be 3-1 Perth Heat. Or are you
Uh,
thinking series split?
no, I think 3-1 Perth Heat. I think they're adding the heart of the soul of that club. I do think Sydney do have some good starting pitching there, but I think the depth is going to be stretched a little bit when they play that double dip on Saturday. I think the strength that they get back with Wazza and Sheriff, to be able to add them into the bullpen is going to help quite a lot. But really, to add four bats into that lineup, to who already played, I think, and swung the bats really well over the weekend, that's going to be huge. It's a numbers crunch now, as I said, for all these clubs to find opportunities for these Aussie lads to get some at bats. I think some teams are now probably a little bit too heavy with some players. I think Melbourne have way too many guys now. I think
Yeah.
there's going to be some disappointed lads this weekend when they're not really going to get an opportunity to play due to the strength of the club. So,
Mm.
it's probably a little bit disappointing. I think Jess Williams for Perth had a really good series last week, swung the bat
Yeah.
really, really well. It was good to see him go out there. Byron, looking our shortstop, made some really good plays too. So I think, there's a lot of Aussie guys that I'd love to see playing on a regular that are most likely going to miss out, for the most part, moving forward.
I think you're right. I think Melbourne Aces, yeah, I can see a 3-1 over the Bandits. I mean, who knows? Maybe 4, but probably not. I reckon, yeah, 3-1, you're right. I'm gonna go controversial here. It's gonna be serious. I'm gonna pull a Hughesy series split for Canberra and Adelaide. I think we might end up going, oh, these guys are sneaky good. Okay, cool. No worries. And I'm actually going to say another series split. It's going to be 2-2, Perth Heat and Blue Sox. I don't know.
Mm.
I just feel I was wrong. I was wrong last week, right? But I
Well,
reckon,
I'm going to write this down. What'd you say?
yeah. So 3-1, 3-1 for the Aces.
Yep.
Aces win the series, and then series split. It's going to be 2-2. It's going to be pretty tight. Canberra's going to be sneaky good, but
Yep.
obviously playing the Giants, it's hard.
Yep.
That's probably one that I'll definitely lose, to be honest. And you'll be able to rub it in my face next
Yeah,
week.
can't wait.
But yeah, cool. And then this one is the
Mm-hmm.
one that I think Perth's going to start slow, and then next week they're going to come out and start raking. It's
Mm.
going to be 2-2 again, series split.
Are we having a bet on this? Are we going to start throwing some?
Well, maybe if we had a sponsor like Sportsbet or someone like that, if they want to jump on board, I mean, hey,
Mm.
we could make a whole segment out of it. We could do pricing and everything. Obviously, not promote gambling, but gamble
Gamble
responsibly.
response. We can promote it.
Something
We just got
there.
to gamble responsibly then, and you can do
Yeah,
whatever you
that's
want.
right. And of course, only if you're over the age of 18 and
Yeah.
check your local listings. But yeah, no.
And to be honest with you, it's our podcast. We do what we want. So who cares?
Yeah, we'll do what we want. Look, we can have a small wager. We can discuss that off air. But look, there you go. I've got it. 2-2,
Mm.
uh, 2-2 and 3-1.
I
So there you
feel like
go.
we should keep a running tally of this. I know we missed out. I didn't get your
That's a great
takes. All
idea.
right. So from now on,
Yeah, that's
week
a
two.
really good idea. Just add more things
And
for
you
me
know
to edit
what?
in post
Yep,
production. Yeah,
and
cheers.
perfect. And at the end of the year, we'll have a tally. So I'm gonna
I like this.
let's keep this.
Good.
All right, let's
Are
keep
you
this
okay
on.
to be the bookkeeper?
Um, at what time we got now? 11:47 on a Tuesday night. Yeah, more than happy to. All right,
He's in a good mood. I'm going to start scheduling these podcasts late as hell, man. You're
absolutely,
fun as hell, mate. All right. Let's
absolutely.
wrap it up. Let's let you go to bed, mate. We appreciate everyone listening. As I've plugged it a few times, if you haven't already, make sure you go and hit up the socials at Bloop Blast Podcast on Facebook. We're on Instagram. Same handle over on YouTube. Hit a subscribe. Give us a like on all the videos. Share it. We'd love to really try and punch up those numbers heaps as much as we can. Share it around everywhere. And one thing that you can do that helps us out heaps, if you listen to the podcast or watch the podcast on either Apple Podcasts or Spotify, go and leave a 5-star review for us. Okay. It really helps us. There's only a few baseball podcasts in, Australian baseball podcasts out there. Hey, listen to them all, give them all a 5-star review. But it really, really helps if you go and give us one if you listen to this. We appreciate you guys for all your support. And hey, hopefully we can just keep growing this thing and keeps getting better and better. Hughesy, do you want to say anything else? Do you want to plug your personal Instagram?
No, not at all. One thing I do say is I cannot wait for Jason Miller to message me first thing Thursday morning because
Yeah,
I know he listens to it straight
he's
away
hard.
first thing in the morning, right? And I
Yeah.
get a message from him, so I cannot wait. Jason, be kind, love you.
Peace. All right. Thanks so much, guys. We appreciate you. And hey, here it is. It's week 2. ABL, it's here. Let's go.
Going back. This ball's back.